In terms of some of the hot topic conversation, women pastors versus women preachers, we're seeing everything always kind of goes to the fringes and the extremes.
Always, yeah.
Right? You see some people that say, nope, women shouldn't ever teach in a
Right.
church. I see other people saying, no, women could do everything and they could go plant churches. How do you navigate that conversation?
I mean, to me, the Bible is fairly clear. With the qualifications of an elder, it doesn't give qualifications for a female elder, and we know that Paul said that the woman should not usurp the authority over the man. So to me, it boils down to who's the spiritual head. And I think women serve in all capacities, incredible gift to the body. I mean, we would not be a church without them. Leading prayer meetings, incredible. But when you're talking about the spiritual oversight, and the man has to submit underneath the woman, that's where I think it's not. That's where the word complementarian comes from. You complement each other. Doesn't mean better than.
Yes.
It means I'm going to go before and possibly die for or give my life for or guard, because that's how God designed me. And the woman should not usurp that spiritual authority. I shouldn't sit underneath her spiritual covering. So that's where it gets confusing. And I don't know why they use the word like a woman pastor, because the pastor in the Greek means the bishop, overseer, elder, underneath, and there's people underneath them, men. So I just think they get a little bit loosey-goosey with that word pastor, whether women's director, women's oversight. But and that's why I think there's a lot of confusion. Even if you talk to, I've got friends in the Foursquare who have women pastors at their churches, but they would agree that, they can't be, the senior pastor over men. But when we use the word pastor, we mean over this group of women. So I think it just gets confusing, because that term normally means you're going to think men are underneath their spiritual covering. But then I've met, boy, oh boy, how many incredible women missionaries who planted churches in Colombia or Africa, and they were the pastor. And so I think it's not the rule doesn't, the exception doesn't make it the rule. And God will use whoever, whenever, but the ideal, the design is for the man to lead in the area of spiritual covering of the church or the family.
It sounds like what I'm hearing you say is yes to women functioning in whatever ministry gifting they have. No to women overseer, lead pastor, church planter, as a scriptural guideline. That doesn't mean there can't be exceptions to the rules, as you pointed out in Colombia. I'm sure there's underground churches in China and North Korea that are being led by women. But in terms of the order that God has, that would be the way you would look at it.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the Southern Baptists back and forth with Rick Warren? And this is the trippy part about that. Even in that, there seems to be a subtle disagreement between him and his successor on this exact topic, where Rick was asked this, I believe, by CBN, and he flat out said, even elders, he's okay with women pastors, even elders, and his successor, I don't remember his name right now, I feel terrible, but the guy that took over Saddleback, who seems to be solid, said, we don't believe women could be elders, but women could be pastors. And then I have a follow-up question. Have you kind of kept up with some of that?
Yeah, a little bit. And I would definitely disagree with Rick's thought there, because he has no biblical grounds whatsoever. I mean, just ask that. Okay, let's say a woman can be an elder. What's her qualifications? And I remember I asked the guy that, and he goes, well, the same as a man. Same. I go, so she's supposed to be the husband of one wife? I mean, rule his family well. There's just no qualifications there. Jesus chose 12 men to lead, and we're not downplaying what we thank God for women. That's why we complement each other. But then again, he goes, but they can't be pastors. Okay, well, if you just have Pastor Carey, Pastor Karen, over what? You see, okay, that can get confusing. Like somebody comes to a church, hey, I'm Pastor Carey, nice to meet you. Okay, so are you my pastor? The man would ask. I've seen this a lot. They come in. Oh no! I'm pastor of women's ministry. And so that term I think is just
confusing.
Yeah, why use the term?
Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here.
Why use the term pastor if you look up the Greek meaning of it, overseer, bishop, elder, the spiritual covering of the church is that pastor.
Yeah,
now there's pastoral roles.
Yes,
maybe that's what they're saying.
I think this would actually come down, if I were to be completely honest, I think this would actually come down to a denominational slant or like theological
vineyard.
I think because what we would see is there are certain camps, I would say more of the Southern Baptists, definitely more Reformed, more Calvinistic leaning folks that would say pastor. When they use the word pastor, they mean elder,
Yep.
overseer, planter.
Yep.
And other folks that would say, no, when we say pastor, we're using the word where in the New Testament, I think it's only used twice, and it's more translated to shepherd in the Greek, right? And so one side is saying, well, a shepherd is a pastor, and the other side is saying, well, you could be a shepherd, but not an elder and an overseer in the semantics aspect.
And as long as you're not shepherding men?
Well, yeah, so that's a great question. Yeah. So like at my church, we only have men elders.
Right.
I've been at this church for a while, and then I've seen the position evolve on this, and we could talk offline about it. But we do have a woman's pastor.
Got it.
Who is in her late 50s. She's the executive pastor. She was the women's ministry pastor, and she'll even teach. But they will always make the caveat: we only have men elders, men planters, right? So it's kind of like it becomes a semantics game to an extent. But I'm actually with you in that it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of confusing. What are we saying by that? Because you're right in that in the First Timothy passage it says teach and usurp authority, that they're kind of one and the same, right? And so I think it's an interesting balance where it's going to go to one extreme or the other.
And we're trying to correct the abuses in the church too. I've seen some extremes out there where, you know, if our worship director, she's a female, you know, in the past, if she were to pray, women can't pray in church. It's like, what? It's just this other extreme is so rigid and so keeping women just at home, barefoot and pregnant all the time.
Yep.
You know, and that's not healthy either.
That's not healthy either. Hey, this weekend we have a super special Father's Day sale, 25% off the entire shop. And as always, free shipping on orders over $85. I'm super excited because we just got this brand new oversized French Terry hoodie. If you've ever gotten any of our premium hoodies, you know that not only will they last you a lifetime, but they just feel amazing. This is by far my favorite hoodie. I'm 5'10.5". Got to give me the half. And I'm 175 pounds. I'm wearing a size medium. So these do run oversized. We also got brand new oversized royal blue shirts and this super dope tan sand color. So you could check those out as well as the entire shop, the everything. Okay. And again, if you know me, you know I always tell you, buy it nice or buy it twice. We don't do the fast fashion stuff that's going to fall apart and the cheap stuff. We really try to go above and beyond to give you guys the best quality merch, and we want to give back to our Father. So check out the sale, blessgod.shop right now. Use the code Father's Day at checkout, and you could stack it with that free shipping over orders $85. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.
And so then the other extreme is
anything. And but I'm listening to you. It sounds like you would be okay with a woman using her teaching gift.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about with men in the room in a conference?
Well, it depends on, you know, if she is...
Like, would you guys ever have Jackie Hill Perry come preach? Jackie Hill Perry's not a pastor. She's not ordained to be a pastor, but she'll teach on Sunday mornings with men in the audience. I'm not sure if you know.
Yeah, I'd probably talk with our elders because I don't want to get so rigid to where, you know, you can't allow anything. But I think the context of Paul is their spiritual authority. And that's a good point. Can a woman ever teach a man? Like, can my mom teach me? Of course.
Yeah.
You know, Ann Graham Lotz, Kay Arthur, have I ever gleaned stuff from them?
Yep.
Their devotionals, powerful.
Yeah.
One lady, I sent a video out of this Pentecostal woman preacher, Vera, I think her name is, and fire, unbelievable, anointed message. So I think women should use their gift, preaching, teaching, but it does to where now if they're at the pulpit, now they're opening God's word, now they're teaching the men there versus are they sharing their story about testimony and the power of God versus are they actually going to teach the word of God systematically, you know, if it's just a one-time thing. So I think it's hard to put
I would say
blanket.
like our women's pastor or executive pastor is more of like a spiritual mom to me.
Exactly.
In the sense that, she's definitely taught me some things. And the reason why I'm doing a lot of this is because she helped me transition off staff when I was at the church. And it was like, I think, you know, you need to be courageous and go and do your own thing, you know? And it was really cool. And even in a dynamic, her husband is very masculine, definitely the head of the relationship, you know? So it's an interesting dynamic that they have. But I see what you're saying in terms of how it could be confusing.
But to answer your question, I think like a one-time, if they become the teacher, like, and men are under their authority and learning from them, that's where you kind of cross that line a little bit. But if it's just, you know, sharing from the pulpit, and that's where with John MacArthur and Beth Beth Moore and John MacArthur,
Yeah.
the whole debate a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that was interesting too, because I think women can go and evangelize and preach. To
Have
some
a
degree.
teaching ministry.
Yeah, of course.
which Beth has. I'm not super familiar with Beth Moore, so I can't.
Yeah,
speak
it's a lot of
her theology. I have literally.
Yeah.
I think I've maybe heard a clip of her
solid 20 years ago now. I don't know.
Yeah. I really don't know. So in turn, you brought up John MacArthur. I think that again, I would say he's more on the extreme side of things with regards to how he views women doing anything
Gifts
in
of the
ministry.
Spirit.
Yeah. And I just go, man, I don't know with that, because we see women in the New Testament doing
Absolutely,
stuff,
yeah.
right? We see, I mean, the first ones to the empty tomb were women taking the message back to the apostles, right? So I think we see God uniquely using women. There's obviously the Aquila and Priscilla. There's Phoebe. We don't know the specific roles of what they were doing, but there definitely seems to be an extreme with some of the folks on the Reformed end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how to reconcile that for them, you know?
Yeah, you can't, because it's that the women should not. I don't allow women to teach in church, or pray, you know, and so that's pretty. But if you just think this through a little bit, you know, pray in what setting, teach in what setting.
Sure.
Of course, they're counseling, they're teaching, they've got incredible gifts that God has given them. But to me, the whole context is usurping the authority over the man.
Yeah,
and as long as that's not happening, I think there's some freedom there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.